Hi, my name is Danielle Karen. I'd like to share with you the two main modalities that I use and integrate together. First is called Internal Family Systems, or IFS, which was developed by Dick Schwartz. Dick talks about the multiplicity of the mind, meaning our mind is made up of many different parts, which I'm going to explore in a moment. Before I do, I'd like to look at the foundation of this model, which stands apart from many other therapeutic models. At the foundation is the belief and understanding that we all have at our core an inherently resilient, regulated, and resourced self. This is when we feel most like ourselves. Dick talks about it as our self with a capital S. I draw it out and symbolize it as a sun because I believe that it's always shining and it's always available. This is when we feel creative and in the flow. We feel confident and courageous, clear and calm and compassionate. This is when we feel most connected to ourselves and to others. We all want more of this, more access to it. However, there are parts that when they're present, they cloud out the access to this core resilient self. There are two main types of parts. One are called exiles, the other are called protectors. The exiles I draw as a little stick figure in a bubble. They're in a bubble because they're stuck in time, they're stuck in the past, and they're carrying pain, trauma, and vulnerability. We naturally exile these parts because we don't want to go about our day feeling that pain, trauma, and vulnerability. The other parts, the protectors, I draw as clouds because when they're present, they're clouding out the sun. These are the parts that are also exiling those exiles. And there are coping mechanisms. So, for example, anxiety, anger, rage, hypervigilance, perfectionism, caretaking, people-pleasing, things like our inner critic and judge. We can also have pretty destructive protectors, such as an eating disordered part, an addict, or a suicidal part. What's important to know is that these protectors all have a positive intention to help or protect you, despite the way that they're going about it. Another way to look at it is that we want your core resilient self, the sun, in the driver's seat, in your car, driving the path of your life. And we all have protectors and exiles in the back seat. More accurately, we have the exiles locked in the trunk. Now, the protectors are going to look through the windshield, through the lens of the past, and they're going to alert you to any real or perceived danger. And if they don't feel like you're listening, or if they don't feel like they can trust you, they're going to jump into the driver's seat and take the car off course. Now, the exiles know that they can't just subtly get your attention, so they're going to flood through with intense feeling, pain, emotion, flashbacks, nightmares. They may also try to get your attention through disease and illness. The wisdom in this is that if they can get your attention, they have a chance to heal, and they don't have to be stuck in the past reliving whatever it is that they experienced back then. Many people come to see me because they don't feel like themselves, and often it's because there's a part or parts that are jumping into the driver's seat. So let's look at an example. Let's say that there's an anxious part, and it's trying to protect somebody by trying to predict the future and look at all the worst case scenarios. In so doing, the person's tense and they can't focus. They're having a hard time relaxing and engaging with other people. So it might be interfering with their relationships, their work, and their sleep. And then we have another protector. Let's say it's the inner critic, and it goes and it says, I hate the anxiety. Let's get rid of it. We need to fight it to stop it. It's no good. And then the anxiety comes back and it says, I can't stop because if I did, she'd get hurt and I don't trust that she'd be able to handle that pain. So the internal dialogue is between one protector and another often. And it's kind of like an internal tug of war. And when that's going on, we often feel stagnant or stuck in our lives. So what this model does is it shifts the internal dialogue to come from the core resilient self. And from here, we bring curiosity, compassion, and understanding to these parts. We're building bridges to them so that they can feel like we understand where they're coming from. And they can start to get to know our resilience. And so doing, they can relax in the back seat and trust us to be present and in the driver's seat driving the path of our lives. The other modality that I use is called somatic experiencing, or SE, which was developed by Peter Levine. Peter wanted to look at the impact of stress and trauma on the nervous system. Many people know that the trauma happened 5, 10, 15, 30 years ago, but their body is still reliving it. And so this modality works with the body. It's a 3-year training looking at all the different types of trauma and how to work with the body, because the body is the window into the nervous system. Now let's look at the nervous system as the gas and the brake on your car. So the gas would be like the sympathetic nervous system. It's the energy, the drive, the go. The brake would be like the parasympathetic system. It's the rest, digest, relax. And we all want this nice natural rhythm in the nervous system. This is when we would say the nervous system's regulated. I would call this the Goldilocks just right zone, because we all have a sense of wanting to maintain an internal homeostasis, right? Because if we wake up and we're feeling tired and sluggish, we'll probably reach for something caffeinating or stimulating to get some energy to go about our day. And then when we're trying to go to sleep and we're feeling too amped up, then we're going to reach for something else to try to relax. So we're all trying to maintain this internal homeostasis in our body. However, most of us haven't been taught how to regulate our nervous system using our body. So therefore, we're reaching for things outside of ourselves. And when this can become problematic is when we're dependent on things outside of ourselves. What happens with trauma and ongoing stress is that it can dysregulate the nervous system. So we can have too much gas, which might look like anxiety, anger, rage, hypervigilance, insomnia, sweating, or increased heart rate. Or we can have too much brake, which would be depression, fatigue, lack of motivation, or dissociation. The dysregulated nervous system can also look like the gas and the brake on full throttle. So in the car's not going to move, but the engine's going to rev. And so in a human, we can look very calm on the outside, but the engine is revving on the inside. It's very uncomfortable. So many people are going too much gas, too much brake, or gas and brake on full throttle, and they're missing this Goldilocks just right zone. What's cool and very empowering about the somatic experiencing work is that it gives you the skills and techniques to learn how to use your body to regulate your nervous system so that you can feel at home in your body. The other thing that the somatic experiencing work does is it helps people experience corrective experiences. What do I mean by that? Well, first, I'm not interested in rehashing the past the way that it happened. When people come in and they talk to me about what happened, I'm interested in looking for what was missing. What didn't they get to experience in order to feel a sense of resolution and completion with the past? What we know about neuroscience is that when the mind and body are connected and we're aware, we're mindful, and we're imagining a new experience, the brain is going to perceive that as if it's really happening. And so we can't change the past, but we can change our relationship to the past so that the body can feel a sense of resolution. So when it comes to healing from trauma, it's important that we don't just talk through it, but that we also engage and work with the body. One way to look at the integration of these two models is that we want the core, resilient self in the driver's seat, in the car, driving the path of your life, feeling the resilience, feeling the ability to work with the protectors and the exiles in the back seat, because we all have them, and we are all going to have moments when they're going to be jumping into the driver's seat. So we want to know how to work with them when that happens. We also want to know how to work with the gas and the brake for a smooth ride as possible, so that we're not jamming on the gas, we're not jamming on the brake, but we can cruise along and we feel the resilience to be able to handle life's challenges so that we can be present in the driver's seat. And this is my passion, to work with people in this way so that they can be present in their lives and they can shine their light in the world.